Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today is my day 20 foundation review and I'm featuring the brand new CoverGirl Clean Fresh Blurring Skin Tint. This is something that has intrigued me because I love anything, well let me rephrase that. I love to try anything that claims to be blurring. So that's what today's video is going to be. I'm also going to do another try-on haul featuring a lot of new things from Sephora and Ulta that have released very recent. One thing in particular that I didn't get to wear today because it just ended up being too cool toned of a shade is the new Charlotte Tilbury blush stick. I bought mine in the shade Rosy Glow because I thought it looked like the most nudie pink option, but it is very, very cool toned. I feel like this would look beautiful with anything else other than the palette that I chose today. I'm going to do a long wear test and we will see how the new CoverGirl skin tint wears on my combination oily skin. You'll get to see my first impressions on all these new products. Really quickly, I do want to mention I will be using this. I'm going to take this new Makeup Forever powder to use as my blotting powder. It's the HD Skin Perfecting Pressed, and this is the mini size. I did try this out in my last video, but I wanted to take this today and try it out instead of my normal Fenty Invisimatte powder, just to see if I notice a difference. But alright, let's get into today's video. We're going to do voiceover again. It's literally 98 degrees outside today, so my air conditioner is like working in overdrive. I hate how it sounds in the background, so this is just going to have to do. I'm using the Tarte Maracuja Juicy Lip Melt Mask in the shade Icing to hydrate my lips. I like this product, but I don't see myself repurchasing it. I love how the applicator feels on my lips more than the actual formula. This is the new Crazy Lift Brow Glue from NYX. I got mine from Ulta and it was $12. I was so excited to try this out because the applicator looks so interesting. I was never a fan of the original brow glue, but I wanted to give this one a shot. You do have to squeeze it pretty hard to get the product to come out. I like to start with a small amount first to see what it's like, and I think I was expecting more based off the reviews that I've seen already, but they all seem to have more brow hairs than I do anyway. I added some more once I realized it wasn't going to get all goopy, and then I used my finger to make sure that they were going to stay in place. So far, I like it, but I'm not in love with it. The Rare Beauty Brow Gel is still my number one. I'm just going to prime my lids with the Urban Decay Eyeshadow Potion in the shade Eden. I really love this formula and the way that it covers all the veins on my eyelids. I just blend it out with a brush first, and then I press it in with the Real Techniques Miracle Concealer Sponge. I set it lightly with powder so my eyeshadow will blend easier. I recently picked up a backup of one of my favorite everyday palettes. It's the ColourPop Nude Mood 9-pan palette, and you can buy this one at Ulta for $14. My old one has been used and abused, but it's still performing as good as new. I just don't want to ever be without this. Once I put these side by side, I started noticing some differences. In the new version, Lap of Luxe and the Cocoa have been switched. I'm not sure if that is just a packaging error or what. They swatched pretty much the same, so I felt like that might be the only difference. I decided to test out the new palette after I noticed that. I started with Au Naturel as my transition shade, and just like the old version, there was some kick up in the pan. These mattes are powdery, but they blend very easily. I'm using the BK Beauty 212. This is my favorite blending brush. Next, I took Bare to Wear, which is a lighter taupey brown, to blend over the transition shade. It just helps soften the edges a little bit. Now I'm going to take the lightest matte shade, it's called Bluffin', to diffuse everything under my brows. I decided to build up the shade Au Naturel in the crease. I basically just keep building it until I'm happy with how it looks. I like to use whatever shadow is left on the brush to blend upwards toward my temples to give a more lifted look. I'm switching to the N13 brush from Nikki LaRose and BK Beauty, and I'm going to take this shade Mugged Off to deepen the outer V. It's a matte with a little bit of sparkle to it. I don't really care for the sparkle in this shade, but it doesn't really cause any issues either. It's just kind of unnecessary in my opinion. Now I'm going to deepen it up even more with the shade The Cocoa, formerly known as Lap of Luxe. This shade is super pretty. It's a very warm brown matte that also has sparkles in it. I just don't get it, ColourPop. Why? Anyways, I do the same technique of just building up the outer V until I feel like it's blended perfectly. I'm going to switch back to the 212 and that light taupey brown to blend the edge of the outer V. The shade name again is Bare to Wear. I like to just keep looking at myself in different angles to make sure everything is blended. I'm going to go back into the lightest matte to soften under the brow once more. And now that I'm happy with that, I'm going to go ahead and start on my wing. I love this 208 brush from BK Beauty. I'm going to take the deepest brown matte, it's called Moody, and I'm going to stamp it along my lash line, focusing most of it on the outer half of my eye. I really love the effect of using eyeshadow first to create your eyeliner wing. It just makes it look so much more soft and subtle. Now I'm switching to the BK Beauty Angie Hot and Flashy A504 brush, and I'm going to soften with that Moody shade. And it's okay to be messy because we're going to clean it up. And then I'm going to take both Moody and the Cocoa together on that same brush to soften it even more. And I blend it up into my outer V. Alright, it's time to tightline now, and I'm going to use my new favorite. This is the MAC Eye Kohl in the shade Costa Riche. I just repurchased mine from Ulta for $24, and they do have 5 other shades available. I also used this to reinforce the line that I'd already created with eyeshadow. I really enjoy this eyeliner technique for everyday looks. And now I'm going to just clean up so I can see how everything is looking so far. I'm happy with how it looks, but if I needed to tweak anything, this would be the time to do so. Before I apply any shimmers, I like to use the NYX Glitter Primer. I also got a backup of this at Ulta for $6.99. I only take a tiny dot and I apply it with tapping motions wherever I intend to put a shimmer. I like to start with this center shade. It's called Put On Airs. It's a warm gold, and I focus this towards the outer third of my eyelid. For the rest of my lid, I use the shade Wink Wink. I instantly felt like there was something different about this shade. I could tell just by the texture, but putting it on my lids confirmed it. So I grabbed my old palette to compare. I started by applying the older formula next to it on my lid to see if I could tell the difference. Now, I was content with the eye look, but I wanted to investigate a little bit more. So I took off my eye patches and I grabbed the newer palette to do some swatch comparisons. Here you can see the shimmers on my fingers, and then I swatched them on the palm of my hand. I wanted you to see the reflection in different angles, so that's why I kept moving my hand around. Now I'm going to go back to the older palette, and on my fingers right away you can see the difference. These are not as smooth. I swatched Wink Wink first because that is the shade that I noticed a big difference. I feel like the older version has more of a golden base to it and more reflection. In this clip, the older version is on top, and I don't know if you all can tell, but it's definitely more reflective. The shade Put On Airs feels different and it does swatch a little bit different, but on the lid it looks pretty much the same. None of this is a huge deal for me personally, but I did want to share my experience just in case it may come in handy for you. I like to skip to primer now so that it can absorb and dry while I do mascara and brows. I repurchased the Caliray So Blown Blurring Primer again at Sephora. The full size is $32, but they also have a mini for $14. This is truly the best primer that I have found for combination skin. It gives just enough hydration, blurs my pores, and controls my oil for over 12 hours. If you would like me to do a video of my favorite products to wear to work for 12 plus hours, let me know in the comments of this video. I decided to pick up the new Maybelline Colossal Bubble Mascara in the shade Very Black from Ulta. It's $12.99 and definitely had its viral moment. The packaging is pretty big, but the wand is about average size, I would say. It looked like it was going to be a super wet formula, but I was surprised that it didn't feel wet on my lashes. I didn't have any issues with transfer or flaking, but I also didn't get as much volume as I hoped for. This almost feels like it conditions your lashes while you're wearing it. They never felt stiff and had a very fluffy look to them. I think it's overall a good mascara, but I'm still obsessed with the Clio Kill Lash from Amazon, and it's about the same price. I'm going to start filling in my brows with the Benefit Precisely My Brow Detailer Pencil in the shade 3.5. I repurchased this from Sephora and it's $26. They only have 6 shades in this one for some reason, but I love how precise this tip is. You just have to be super careful with it and not twist up too much. It's just like using a mechanical pencil on your brows. I use this to create several hair-like strokes to give my brows some more shape. I feel like the new CoverGirl Nano Brow is a super close dupe if you're looking for a cheaper alternative. Alright, it's time to talk about our Day 20 foundation. This is the CoverGirl Clean Fresh Blurring Skin Tint with SPF 30. I chose the shade 420 Light Medium Neutral and I got mine from Ulta for $13.99. They have 14 shades and you get 1 fluid ounce. It comes in a squeeze tube, so I just put what I thought would be enough for my entire face on the back of my hand. And I started by swatching some on my jawline, and it looked like a pretty perfect match to my self-tan. I blended out the product a little so I could feel it on the back of my hand. It feels a little bit moussey at first, but then it thins out with the warmth of your finger. I'm using the BK Beauty 115 brush to blend it out, and I noticed right away that it did blur out the texture on my cheeks, but I also noticed that it appeared to be oxidizing a little bit. It wasn't a big deal for me because it still matched my body, but I could see that being an issue for some people. I think it's best to blend this formula in sections because it dries down fairly quick. I wanted to show you one side fully blended with a brush, and then I pressed it in with the Stands Out sponge. As you can see, this gives a lot more coverage than a typical skin tint. It claims to be light buildable coverage, but I would say I got medium coverage right away. The shade Light Medium Neutral also pulls a little bit warm in my opinion, but so far I'm actually really impressed. We will talk more about it when I show you the check-ins throughout the night, and yes, I'm staying up all day and all night. It's what I do. And before we move on, I just wanted to show you my hand is so smooth and blurred out. Another new product that I've been wanting to try from Benefit is the Hula Wave Cream Bronzer Balm. I got the shade Original, and it was $36 from Sephora. There are 5 other shades to choose from, and I just love this packaging. The shade looks much deeper in the pan compared to the swatch. I'm using the BK Beauty 116 brush to blend it, and I had to build it up a couple of times to even see it on my face. I feel like one layer gives a very subtle, natural look, but for me, I liked it with the second layer. Now, I really enjoyed using this to contour my nose. One layer was perfect for a nice, subtle nose contour. I'm just using the Patrick Ta Nose Contour Brush. I really enjoy this formula, and I cannot wait to try it again. As always, I like to press it in with the Stands Out sponge. For concealer today, I am so excited to finally try the YSL Touche Éclat Awakening Concealer Click Pen. I got mine in the shade 2.5 Luminous Vanilla, and it was $40 from Sephora. They have 16 shades, and for some reason, this was on the new at Sephora page. I'm not sure if they reformulated it or what, but let me tell you something. This is beautiful. If you are looking for a lightweight, skin-light concealer that gives light to medium coverage, this is worth trying for sure. It took a few clicks to get it going, but as soon as it came out, I knew the shade was going to be good. It's got just enough yellow in it to neutralize my veins, but also a true neutral shade that brightens. I absolutely fell in love with the texture and the shade right away. I'm going to blend it with the Delium Tools Concealer Brush, and as you can see, it just blends and spreads like a dream. It worked really well on my nose too. I think this is the perfect concealer to pair with a skin tint, but you could also use it for full glam. It seriously blew me away, and I didn't experience any creasing or dryness the whole night. But you will see all that a little later in the video. Next up, we have the new Unreal Blush Stick from Charlotte Tilbury. I purchased the shade Rosy Glow the day that these launched, and I wasn't expecting it to arrive in time for this video, but since it did, I decided to try it. I noticed right away that this was way more cool toned than the images showed at Sephora. I was expecting a more nudie beige pink. It's still a really pretty shade, just not for this eye look. I pulled out the Rare Beauty Matte Bouncy Blushes from my collection since these are still pretty new, and I purchased the shade Worth so that I could have a warmer option, and boy did that come in handy today. I'm blending it in with the F4 brush from Makeup by Mario. I think next time I'm going to try mixing in some of the shade Hope just to see what that would look like. I love these so much. One layer is definitely enough, but if you want it to last 12 hours, just go ahead and add 2. I have seen this powder everywhere. It's the L'Oreal Infallible Blurfection Loose Setting Powder in the shade Translucent Light. It's a whopping $15.99 at Ulta, and they have 4 different shades. I almost got the pink shade, but I thought this would be better for all over the face. I couldn't believe how good my under eyes looked before setting, and I was afraid to use too much powder and dry them out, so I opted for this Morphe X Aerial brush to lightly set first. Even though it didn't really need it, I still used the sponge to press it in and remove any excess. Alright, so I get the hype of this powder now. It is perfect to set under the eyes because it's not too heavy or drying. I want you to look how smooth my under eyes are. I grabbed a powder puff from Amazon to set the rest of my face. I worked the powder into the puff and just started pressing it in the areas that I usually set. I really enjoyed this powder everywhere except right beside my nose. I'm not sure if it was the powder or the skin tint, but something was definitely off texture-wise. I will try both of these again separately to be sure, but I think the skin tint didn't really lay right over my larger pores. It didn't look bad or anything, but I could tell it wasn't as smooth as usual. I recently repurchased the original Benefit Hoola Bronzer from QVC, and it came with a mini size 2 for $36.98. I used my new Patrick Ta contour brush to apply it, and I think it looked great. I had to try it since I was using the new cream version, and I think they worked really well together. I wanted to use the Tower 28 blush in the shade Long Beach Iced Tea to set over the Rare Beauty. These are $22 at Sephora and they have 7 shades. The Rare Beauty matte blushes dry down and don't actually need set, but I wanted to add this shade on top. Plus, these really do blur and smooth even more texture on my cheeks. I'm using the BK Beauty Angie Hot and Flashy A507, and I'm trying to put it all over to see if it will help out in that trouble spot. I don't think it hurt anything, and it is a beautiful blush, so why not just put it everywhere? I've had this powder foundation from Kylie Cosmetics for a little while now, and I never reach for it. So I wanted to try it again and see what my thoughts are. I have the shade 2N, and it's $36 at Ulta, and they have 30 shades, which is amazing. This powder foundation is pigmented, and a little goes a long way. I forgot that about it, so after I used a powder puff from Morphe, I decided to switch to a powder brush to finish blending it in. This powder also clung to that trouble spot, so I grabbed the MAC Fix Plus to see if melting the powder in might help. I think it helped a lot, and I'm feeling better about how my complexion's looking. Ulta had a deal going on where L'Oreal was buy one get one 50% off, so I got the powder, and then I got this Faux Brow Ultra Fine Double Tip Brow Pen in the shade Light Brunette. It's $12.99 and they have 8 shades. At first I thought the prongs, that's what I'm going to call them anyway, were too far apart, but after just a few flicks I realized it's very easy to maneuver. You can turn it to an angle where only one is actually touching your brows, and it doesn't distribute too much product, so it's very easy to use. I love everything about this brow pen. It's incredible, even quicker than my beloved NYX Lift and Snatch. I wanted to see if adding the newer version of the shade Wink Wink in my inner corner would be the same as the older version. You cannot convince me that they didn't change this formula. It doesn't give the same pop, and to be honest, it kind of bums me out. That's one of my favorite shimmers for all over the lid and inner corner. For my lip liner today, I chose the e.l.f. Cream Glide Lip Liner in the shade Truth or Bear. They have 14 shades to choose from, and these are only $2. I felt like the warmth of this shade would match the blush, and it definitely did. I wanted to go for a simple lip since I had errands to run, and I knew that I would need to reapply throughout the day, and night in my case. This is the new Supergoop Glow Gloss SPF 40 with peptides and shea butter in the shade Vanilla Soft Serve. It's $22 at Sephora and they have 3 shades. I really enjoy how this looks and feels on the lips. It smells sweet, but it has a pretty strong chemical taste. I'm sure that's the SPF, but I didn't enjoy that part at all. I love the idea of sun protection in a gloss, so I'm happy to have it for the summer, but it's not a favorite. I decided to add a little bit of my Buxom Full-On Plumping Lip Cream in the shade White Russian, just to the center of my lips to lighten them up a little bit. And I actually love how this lip combo turned out. Alright, one last curl of the lashes with the Shiseido Lash Curler. Oh, and by the way, I wanted to tell you I use my Surratt Lash Curler before I start my makeup, and I do the trick of heating it up with the blow dryer first. Then I use the Shiseido after my mascara dries. My lashes looked really good and fluffy, but again, this is just not a favorite mascara. I added some of the transition color Au Naturel under my lower lashes to make my blue eyes pop, and I'm using the A504 brush. I focus it mostly on the outer third of my under eye. Another new launch is from One Size Beauty. They released the Until Dawn Mattifying Waterproof Setting Spray with SPF 28. It's $39 at Sephora, and I think this is genius. A perfect summertime launch. As always, I'm going to use the Lancome Lash Idol Mascara on my lower lashes. I don't think this will ever be replaced at this point. We go way back. And lastly, I'm going to use the Valentino Born in Roma sample that I got from Sephora. It's just a classic scent that I love year round. All right, this is the completed look, and I really like how it all turned out. You never know when you are trying new products, but this looks great. Okay, time for a random thought and question of the day. I just have a question. Does anyone else feel like this? Okay, for me, blow drying my hair has become like the biggest arm workout of the day. I consider myself somewhat strong, let's put it like that. But when it comes to giving myself a nice blowout, my arms feel like jello. You know how like when you weed eat and after you're done, your arms feel like, you know, that jiggly jello because they're like pulsating? Okay, my arms feel like that, but like maybe just jello standing still, not the jiggly kind, if that makes sense. Anyone else? Anyway, this is my 4-hour check-in. I wanted to show you guys how everything was wearing. I did get a little bit of footage from when I went out to give my husband something to drink and to get some gas, run a few errands. So I was out in the 98-degree weather and it is still holding up really well. I have not blotted or anything. I probably could and it would probably look fine. I'll take a little tissue and blot. I don't think what we're seeing is technically oil. I think it's just a little bit of shine trying to peek through. I will say I noticed right away, I might have already mentioned this, but I just wanted to let you know, I did notice right away that I didn't like how the skin tint was wearing through here, but I thought once it dries down and adding powder, maybe it'll get better. And then when I added the powder from L'Oreal, I felt like it kind of did the same thing. It was like it was clinging around my pores and kind of emphasizing them a little bit. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure how I feel about it, but all in all, I think everything looks really good, especially from a distance. You can't really tell, but I would say up close, I do notice that it's emphasizing my texture a little bit. I'm not mad at it. I'm just saying up close, you can definitely see it, and it looks a little bit heavy and textured. I will say I noticed when I was out and about, the swatch that I left on my hand on purpose looked like it had oxidized 3 shades. It was very pink. Now it's kind of hard to tell in this lighting, but out in the sunlight, this like whole part of my hand looked very, very pink. My hand does look super smooth. It feels very silky. So I do like the way that skin tint feels. Can't wait to try it again with like my favorite powder from Nikia Joy just to see if I notice a difference. But I'm loving the concealer. Outside I was not too sure because in sunlight I was like squinting, you know, because it's so hot and sunny and bright. So when I was squinting I was like, I don't know, but I think it looks nice. I'll see you in a few hours. Oh, really quickly, I wanted to show you guys this. I got this as a free gift from Sephora, the Fenty The Waterboy Leave-In Conditioner. It says Reparative Leave-In Conditioner Spray. I used this in my hair after I got out of the shower. I just sprayed this kind of liberally and brushed through. I will tell you instantly, brushing through my hair was so easy. It was almost like a detangler as well. And my hair looks so smooth, shiny, and feels so good. So I just wanted to let you all know about this. If you've never tried it, I was very, very impressed. Here we are with the bathroom footage again. This is my 10-hour check-in, and I'm sorry, it's the only privacy I could get at work. I loved how this looked in fluorescent lighting. My skin looked so smooth, and I only noticed one area that showed signs of wear on my chin. And that's from my straw hitting it, so that's not the makeup's fault at all. My under eyes did start to look a little bit dry, but I was also running on fumes and Red Bull at this point, and I could barely keep my eyes open. As you can see here in this footage, my lashes are fluffy, but they're not as lifted as usual. For my 12-hour check-in, I'm going to show you these photos that were taken after working 12 hours, plus the 6 hours of wear before I even left for work. So approximately 18 hours wearing the new CoverGirl Blurring Skin Tint in 98-degree weather. I think that is super impressive, and I fear it may be a new favorite. I will keep testing it to let you guys know what I think. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys in the next one.